So as I mentioned to you earlier, the conversation this morning is going to be a lovely, lovely conversation as we go through. As you are aware, Tobago just came out of the October Carnival, the third edition of the October Carnival. And of course, so many activities happening here on the island, the week building up to the Carnival and the culmination on Sunday night. And no other fitting persons to talk with this morning about the events, the rollout of the events, the participation, the numbers, the vibe and the energy that you can only experience right here on the island of Tobago. We're going to speak with Councillor Tashia Burris. She is the Secretary in the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities, Transportation and Culture, and also Assistant Secretary Niall George in the same division. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Adanna.
Good morning, Adanna. Good morning, Tobago.
Of course, it is a pleasure speaking with you guys this morning. And I want to start off by saying congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I feel as if Tobago won. Tobago won. I have seen, the growth and the expansion of the Carnival over the past, we're in the third year now, and I've seen where we have, when I looked at some footage on social media, right? Let's talk about Juve.
You should have been there.
I mean, the energy, I wasn't there as you mentioned, but the energy was just so electrifying, even on social media. Yes. So I must say congratulations to you. I must say congratulations to all the stakeholders and all the persons who came together to make Tobago October Carnival a success, in my view.
Yes.
Right? I know there are still assessments that have to be made. So let's talk about the success of it. How do you feel in terms of the rollout of all the events that took place for the entire week? The persons that came to Tobago to enjoy, do you believe that they enjoyed a product that they cannot compare to any other?
I think that we have hit on something that is phenomenal for the destination. When we started this process 3 years ago, when the Chief Secretary said we're going to have this carnival in October back in 2022, I did not know where we were going to start in terms of the conceptualization, the planning, the implementation, because this was not going to be a bloco. It's easy to plan a block.
That's right.
We had to create a festival. And how do you encapsulate a little bit of everything that makes Tobago unique into a festival? And especially if that festival is confined to a period of 3 or 4 days or a week. For us, it was a journey in creativity. It was a journey of discovering ourselves, who we are, what we want to showcase to the world, what we want to share with the people who come to Tobago and experience what we have on offer. And I can tell you, for me personally, I did not see year 3 being so big. I actually, in my mind, said, okay, by year 5, people would be on board with the thing. We would market it, and, all of the, the back and forth about whether Tobago should have a carnival or not will die down. And by year 5, we could roll in the big leagues. We could. But I'm seeing in year 3, I'm seeing some established carnival pages publishing Tobago Carnival in October, and I know we reach. So it doesn't feel like, I would borrow a term from Watson. It doesn't feel like the pinky toe, the pinky finger on the pinky. It actually feels as if we do have a place. And that is what I take away, that what we've created in the last 3 years is in the league of other well-established carnivals. And I think Tobago has to take a bow for that.
Absolutely. And you're speaking here and you mentioned that you were thinking maybe by the 5th year, we would be in a good place. What do you use to measure the success as to where we are now in comparison to where you thought we might have been in 5 years? What do you use to measure that?
So several things we would look at. So for one, we would look at the amount of visitors who would come to the destination. If it is that the product that we put out in year 1 wasn't a product worthy of consideration, then year 2, we would have seen less numbers. Year 3, we would see less numbers. But from all accounts, year 1, we started. Year 2, we saw more. Year 3, the island sunk. So, we are on a trajectory of growth. That is 1. 2, in terms of the stakeholders organizing themselves. In year 1, we didn't have the Tobago October Carnival association. By year 2, they organized themselves into an association, and they became one of our main stakeholders. And that, to me, augured well for the growth of the industry, because there was a changing of the guard. We were used to the Gemmers of Tobago and the Terrence Sandifords of Tobago being the voice of mass, but now we had a young group of people deciding to come together, form this association, pool their resources, support one another, and create this body that will represent their interests and discuss with the government how we can invest in their growth. That, to me, was an excellent and positive sign. Thirdly, when you look at the quality of the events that have become part of the Tobago calendar of activities, you realize that our promoters, every year they're taking feedback from their customers, they're taking feedback from the people who have come and enjoyed their activities every year. We've had some new promoters come in this space because they've seen an opportunity to bring up a unique product to the fore. And year one, we had a challenge. We had so many fetes. So some people scored and some people didn't score. But from all accounts, all of the fetes that we had this year were very well subscribed to. That also tells me that there is growth. And fourthly, the demand. So for all the people who didn't get here, all of the complaints we heard about people who could not get to Tobago, Cal took a beating in the days prior, because, really we've been seeing the demand from very, very early. People from the diaspora, our international visitors, were saying, look, I can get to Trinidad, but I can't get to Tobago. There's nothing available, which means that those first set of flights that went out were sold out very quickly. So that when you hear that people are complaining that what you have, they cannot get access to me, those four things definitely show that Tobago October Carnival is right up there with some of the best.
And you're absolutely correct, because now it is a product that people are desiring and they are making a high demand on. And talking about that product, what do you think makes Tobago October Carnival stand out? Because we know that, they call Trinidad the Mecca of Carnival. Okay, now we have Tobago October Carnival attracting so many people, wanting to get here, desperately wanting to get on the island to participate in all the activities. I know some people who try to go to every single fete, every single engagement, every single thing that was happening on the island. What makes the Tobago October Carnival stand out that makes it unique to Tobago only?
Well, I think Assemblyman George has a good idea of what stands out to him. I know that in my mind, you see the idea of people coming to Tobago and being adopted. I love the fact that our visitors feel as if Tobago can be their second home after they've experienced what we put out for Tobago October Carnival. But I think Assemblyman George may have a different idea to me.
No, it's pretty much that. It's the warmth of the island, it's the friendliness of the people. It's a small island, so they get a different cultural experience. In terms of our food, everyone knows about Tobagoan food. We have the crab and dumpling, and even in the all-inclusives, there was this sense of Tobago-ness that's different from Trinidad, So it's just the whole package. You could leave the carnival, you could go to a Pigeon Point, you could have a bath, and just the friendliness of the island. So it's an entire package. It's not just about carnival, it's a vacation and a carnival.
Yes.
Absolutely. And, I totally agree with that, because we have something that is so unique. Outside of Carnival, we boast about our tourism and our tourist attractions. So, of course, those things will want somebody to have to say, why do I have to go back?
Yes.
I want to stay. I want to stay and enjoy all that they have here on the island of Tobago. Now, we spoke about Carl extensively. The challenges that we had with Carl and, the conversations that had to happen to make it happen. And you could say that they got here. The people who wanted to get here. There might have been people who were left behind, but in terms of the people that were actually able to get here, are you satisfied with the conversation? Are you satisfied with the action that was taken to put flights on? Was it done in sufficient time? What would you say? How would you assess that arrangement?
I'm trying to be very, very nice this morning, right? I will not bash Cal. I can tell you that it is not as simple for Cal to simply put on flights. They have to service a number of other destinations. And even though we have ATRs that are servicing the domestic route, my understanding was for every international flight that they had, they put on a Tobago leg to get people from Trinidad to Tobago. But when you have considerations of plane and flight and crew and all of these restrictions, because you can't play in the aviation industry. It's not so simple as them dropping planes out of the sky and landing them in Tobago. For all intents and purposes, I think that the communication could have been better in terms of when they put on additional flights, because I felt as if the additional flights kind of dropped like a thief in the night, and only those who were lucky to know, were able to book. And when you have international visitors who want to come in, who are able to book their ticket months in advance to get to Trinidad, but they cannot get to Tobago. They can't be mining Caribbean Airlines website to see if a seat pop up or 2 seats pop up. They must be able to know, well, okay, we are expecting some additional flights to go in the system by this day, so they know on that day they check. Or if it is that we don't have additional flights in the system, then they can make alternate arrangements. But the reality is that I would want to commend them, because my understanding is that they tried their best to take as many persons on standby who showed up to the airport. From all intents and purposes, I understand that persons who were booked to travel did show up to travel. So I do commend the efforts that they took in the last minute to try and see how many people they could get to Tobago. But my major kudos will always be for the Port Authority. The Port
Yes,
Authority
of course. I sense some bias there.
Not only being near and dear to my heart, my port family, but, you know, the port is really the place that moves the bulk of the traffic to Tobago. They are taking boats that could take hundreds of persons in one go, and they put on their schedule. They advertised when they put on their schedule. They looked at the sales. The tickets sold out. They went back and said, let's see if we could put on additional sailings. They came back and said, we putting on additional sailings. So at every step of the way, they communicated their intent. And I really must commend them. I know the staff there works hard, because moving volumes of people in the hundreds is not easy, but they were able to do it without incident. I passed by the port this morning. It looked very clear. So it's telling me that all of the movements are happening in the way that they should, so that people came, they enjoyed themselves, and they're able to go back home when they need to.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Right. You know, we're talking, as you were talking there about Cal, you mentioned, and I think it's something that the average person, we don't really think about. In all fairness to Cal, you're talking about aviation space, that you rightfully can't just say, let me put on 10 flights, because the airspace, you have to have some type of communication with other users of the airspace. And I'm thinking that the conversation, needs to happen either earlier, or planning for that aspect in terms of how do you determine when is the conversation going to start to happen with Cal in terms of, listen, October Carnival is coming again next year. It's not a surprise.
Well,
let's start planning.
So they are a sponsor, so they should know. But outside of that, and I said this last year, I said, I don't know if it's a situation where Tobago has to make a business case for flights in general. And this is not just about a carnival. There are people right now who are on standby to come up from Trinidad. So you would think that all of the traffic is going one way, and that there should be no issue with somebody who's leaving Trinidad to come to Tobago. And that speaks to a bigger issue. The fact that people on a regular day cannot book a ticket confirmed to go and confirmed to come back when they want to. And on either legs of those journeys, they may have to try standby. It is telling us here in Tobago that clearly there is a demand for the seats on the air bridge. Clearly there's a demand for persons to travel to the destination, whether you're coming for leisure, whether you're coming for work, whether you want to run away from work, whether you want to hide from the ornament, whatever it is you want to do, there is a demand. And if there's a demand and the business case is there, that they're seeing people showing up, then I don't think there's anything else the THA can say to Cal to prove that we need the seats. So I hope that with this October Carnival, we have made a very solid case to show them, look, we need back our seats. We need to go back to the amount of flights we had pre-COVID, because that is what we need to sustain our tourism product year round. When it comes to our peak times, July, August, October, Heritage Time, National Carnival in February for cool down, Easter time, those times when the demand is even more, you see what the historical data says. So then let's just do what we have to do.
And I totally agree there, of course, ensuring that all the stakeholders, because Cal has to identify themselves as a stakeholder, as a partner in, not, as you said, not just October Carnival, but with Tobago and all the activities that we have here on the island. There are people wanting to travel between both islands, and Cal is very, very integral. So Cal, I hope you are listening this morning. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us for the October Carnival, and we hope for continued conversations and support as we ensure that people can get to and from Tobago. We have to go for a short break, but we will continue with conversations about the Tobago October Carnival, the successes, the areas for improvement, and of course, you know, the benefits that were reaped by all here on the island of Tobago. Do stay with us, and when we come back, we'll continue those conversations.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us here on Good Morning Tobago. Of course, it's a good morning. It's a Tuesday morning here on the island of Tobago, and we're still recuperating from all the activities that happened over the past weekend here on the island for our October Carnival, the third edition of Tobago October Carnival. And of course, I want to switch gears a little bit this morning as we continue the conversation. It was a big carnival. We saw the numbers. We spoke about the amount of people that came to the island and who participated in the different activities that we had building up and culminating on Sunday. And, we're talking about the benefits here to the people on the island of Tobago. Let's talk about the business community. What have they been saying? Have you heard anything from them talking about what the increases over the past years or anything like that?
Well, before the carnival, that would be Friday, the festival itself, you would have heard hoteliers talking about rooms almost to full occupancy. And with these numbers coming to the island, most naturally they would have to be fed, they'd have to be transported, and that would just redound to every business person on the island, down to the peddlers selling water. You'd have the persons that are running a taxi. So we know that over this weekend we would have economic growth on steroids. Absolutely.
And I can't wait to get the data, when that comes in, to see where we are in comparison to last year and the previous year, because I saw the numbers, so I'm expecting that, of course, there would be a big increase, and I'm hoping that, we can continue this trajectory that we're going in here, and we could really, I don't even think that we could really, because we have already established who we are, and there were lots of naysayers in the space thinking that we probably would not make it, and we have been able to do it. Not only have we been able to have a good time in terms of reveling and people having a good time on the streets, but we saw people, as you mentioned, Assistant Secretary there, the business community, even the peddler.
Yes. And I want to interject here by saying, I saw an article maybe about last week, an editorial, and someone was knocking the fact that the THA, our budget for the carnival was less this year. And from year one, I said, look, every year we're going to be spending less as a THA because we feel that this is a product that should not belong to government 100%, that we should see the investments of the private sector coming on board to assist with execution of the festival. And I can say that even with us reducing the budget a third year in a row, that we can see the economic gains that redound to the economy of Tobago as a whole based on the investments of the THA and the investment of our corporate sector. And it's not that the THA wants private sector to hand us a check. We don't want private sector to hand us a check. We want people to be able to invest in the product of the carnival, sponsoring of the bands, making sure that you assist us in marketing. Everybody has a social media page. Are you having sales for the carnival? Are you doing packages in your hotel? Are you telling people stay 5 nights, get a third night, get a fortnight 50% off? Or if you rent a car for 5 days, you get the last day free. Those are the things that will encourage people to stay longer. One of the things that I've also heard is that people find that to come to Carnival in Tobago is cheaper than other carnivals. And that is something that is attractive to persons, because Carnival is a very expensive endeavor, especially if you're a Carnival baby. And I've heard the comparisons being made. I think that people feel that if you spend less on a product, that the quality is affected. But I think that we have demonstrated that even though we have managed our budget, and I'm pretty certain we're going to come in less than what we allocated again, because I am all for prudent management of the resources we have, because it's not just a carnival, we have many other things throughout the rest of the year. But it shows that the quality and standard did not drop.
Absolutely. And we're talking about stakeholder involvement and partnership and external sponsors in terms of the corporate. What was it like this year, Assemblyman, in terms of these stakeholders, corporate Tobago, even Trinidad, investors coming in and saying, listen, I want to be a part of this looking good. What was it like this year, and what are your expectations or hopes in terms of the response this year for next year?
Well, based on the success this year, everyone wants to be a part of something that's successful. So we expect even more sponsorship and cooperation from the stakeholders next year. One thing that I would like to go back a bit, right? One thing that I noticed this year in the Carnival festivities is that Tobago has a huge juve culture. And when it comes to conventional mass, Tobagonians are lukewarm about it. But I have seen that the locals are warming to the conventional mass. The participation in terms of local has improved drastically. And that says that Tobagonians are feeling more involved, are owning the festival. And that's the idea. It's Tobago Carnival. It's being facilitated by the THE, but it's about each and everyone grasping, holding on to it and becoming a part and feeding it, nurturing it so that it will continue to grow.
And the Monarch of Mass, that was this year was the first year for that one. Do you, as you were talking about the Tobagonians not being too much into the pretty mass, do you think that kind of helped because that kind of gave them a space, to say, listen, we could do more than Juve, more than mud? Do you think that provided that kind of space for them to open their eyes and say, listen, we could do pretty mass too?
Well, it's about growing the creative sector as well. And if you have to grow something, you have to create a platform for them to flourish. And with this competition, you then challenge them to improve the arts. So I'm just saying that it's about the platform, and that's what we are here for, to facilitate the growth of the carnival.
Absolutely. Something that, I really appreciated in this carnival season, as I mentioned, I'm not a carnival girl. In fact, I'm a churchgoer. But what I really appreciated in this carnival season is honoring our icons.
Yes.
And, I want to talk a little bit about that, because it was so heartwarming to see that we could celebrate them while they are still here. I mean, I know although Shadow is gone, but we're still honoring them. Tell us, what was the idea, the genesis behind let us do it at this particular point in time?
Well, the genesis is that she's alive. and this administration, if you look at the part that we are taking, we try to honor our icons while they are alive. Yesterday afternoon, we had an interview with Rose, and it's so heartwarming to see Calypso Rosie. She was in an element. She was so happy. She was giving us a piece of her life, her struggle to get to where she's at, and how she has maintained it. And I would like to see that Calypso Rose may be feeling in the physical, she may be declining in the physical, but that voice, when you hear that voice, you think carnival, you think it's so powerful, such a true representation of the power of a Tobagonian. And I'm saying we will continue to honor our icons while they are alive. You see the joy in their faces of being recognized, of being around their peers. I mean, she was so happy to speak to Shadow's son, Shalon Bailey, who was there as well to receive the award on his behalf. And we will continue to honor them while they are alive.
And, I must applaud this administration, and I must applaud your office for thinking that we should do this now, that now is the right time to do it. And even in the season that we are in, although all of them aren't necessarily cultural in terms of carnival, they were still able to participate in this event and to know that they are appreciated, because to tell somebody, oh, I appreciate you, sometimes it just isn't enough. So to have that, in that open space where everybody can come and give them their love, give them their roses while they're alive, I must commend you for that.
I would want to particularly single out Secretary Trevor James of the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development. He actually brought the idea to us. I mean, we had already planned to honor our cultural icons from the level of the Division of Tourism. But if you notice the other icons, Bertil Sinclair, Alan Richards, Embahu Mohini, the Moran family, James A.A. Bigat, Secretary James is big on the history of Tobago and ensuring that the people of Tobago understand where we come from, that we can drive around. And I think Shalon Bailey, he encapsulated it perfectly, that we must walk the road, and the road must be representative of the people who walked before. And that is why it's so important that people must be able to look up at a street sign and know that the name up there is somebody significant who has contributed significantly to the fabric of our Tobago society, and that we are recognizing their contributions. So those icons that we honored, and fittingly during the carnival season, because I think in particular, especially the renaming of a main part of our route to the Calypso Rose Boulevard, I think that added a little extra spice and oomph to the parade, and I know that people enjoyed it. I mean, it was such a glorious time. And I think from the time we started like that, and then we just kind of rolled into the rest of the weekend, it set the stage for what turned out to be I don't even have adjectives anymore to describe this weekend. It really was phenomenal.
It was. And while you were speaking there, I'm thinking is it possible for us to have a conversation that takes it further than honoring them and renaming the streets and renaming the roundabout? Let's take this into the schools, because I'm sitting here thinking we have the education, our generation of people, we know who these people are, we know what they have done. But let's think about our children. Do they know who Calypso Rose is?
Yes.
Do they know who these people are? Can we bring this into the schools? Can we have a caravan in schools that can roll out the information on these people, celebrate them in the school system?
So I think
the Secretary of Education, Secretary Hackett, is very big on the Tobago curriculum, and that is being developed as we speak. And I think that would take care of, pretty much take care of what you're speaking about. So it's in the plans, it's in the works, and we intend to roll that out.
I think it is very, very important, because sometimes you have conversations with the younger ones and it's like, who are you speaking about? You know, so let us preserve our culture, preserve what is ours here on the island of Tobago, and keep our conversations really and truly Tobago-centric, because I want, you know, the young ones who are coming up to be as proud as we are. Come the next 10, 15, 20 years, they must be having the same types of conversations and talking about how they can preserve the legacy and how they can have the conversations with their children as they are coming up. You know, I'm just so happy. I really am just so happy, and I'm so excited, you know, for where we can take things when we really come together as a Tobago. Forget about the other things, the outside noise, and just focus on who we are as Tobago to develop where we are on the island.
And that is where it has to go. I mean, as Assemblyman George said, it is our carnival. So that I listened to some of the commentary. I don't like to say naysayers, but I've listened to some of the commentary. And I don't know, they probably have some hurt people out there. But, you know, people talk about, is the Trinidadians build the carnival and there is a Trini-style carnival in Tobago? I'm not having that argument. Yes, Trinidadians will be the largest audience because they are right next door. It's only natural. And Trinidadians and Tobagonians love a good party. And if this is a good party, we will be there. But I can tell you, walking around the street, and I think Assemblyman George will back me up on this, I have never seen so many diaspora Tobagonians in Tobago all at the same time. People from year one, there was some people came year one, they check it out, they say, but now October has become peak travel season for persons from the diaspora to come back home. So it feels like a family reunion.
And to add to this is that we have an example from the National Carnival. And if there is something good, we take from it. We also have to refine our product and maintain our Tobago-ness in our carnival. So any carnival in the world, there'll be a party. That's part of what it's about. And Trinidad knows how to party. We can't argue that we are probably the best party island in the world. So if we can take aspects of that to improve our carnival, why not? We take what's good, we cut out what's not, and we grow.
Exactly.
As one of my mentors says, you eat the meat and leave the bone. Right? You know, and you know, of course, that is the right approach, because if you are trying to model something that is working, take what will work in your space, which is what you have done. Again, I have to commend you, which is what you have done, and we have made Tobago a beautiful space in this October period. And I'm looking forward to, as I said, the data that will come after you sit. I know you have to sit with your members to determine numbers, you know, stuff like that. So we're waiting to see what would happen there. I want to talk about a few things when we come back from the break, right? So viewers, you have to stay with us. We're going to continue the conversation this morning as we talk about October Carnival here on the island of Tobago, the projections, what we're looking for next year, and how we're going to make the thing. Can we even make it better than it was this year? Perhaps we can. You never know. We can always pull a rabbit out of a hat here on the island of Tobago. So stay with us as we continue GMT this morning. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. The conversation continues. If you've just joined us, we're talking about October Carnival 2024, and I know some of you are still living in the whole nostalgia, the euphoria of all that took place. While I was in church, I saw all of you, and I'm happy that you had a good time.
Did you pray for us?
I certainly did, and I'm thinking that Tobago won, and that is the one thing I'm really, really happy about, the numbers that I saw, the involvement. And we're talking about all the good things that happened for Carnival 2024, but we can't talk about the good without looking at, is there room for improvement? What are some of the loopholes that we might have seen? I know this is the third year, so after the first year we would have made assessments, the second year we would have made assessments, and now we're here, the third year, bigger and better than we were when we just started. Because as you mentioned mentioned earlier, you weren't sure where we were going to go with this, but here we are, right? And we have to make the assessments. From your point of view, from where you are sitting, what have you seen that you think maybe we could have a greater conversation here? We could involve more persons in the conversations. We could tweak this. We could probably add this, probably take this out. What are you thinking about how we could move forward?
So I'd like to start there. What I've noticed is the actual weekend of the carnival, everyone tries to push or the promoters try to push their effect into that weekend. And I'm saying we can extend the carnival season by having some of those events earlier. You know, Tobago Carnival it's become a brand. It's pretty much marketing itself. And if we could get some of them to buy into having the events earlier, we could help. Once we have the calendar early enough, we as an administration could support them in terms of marketing these events. That way, naturally, we have visitors on our weekend. So you don't have to worry about the numbers in terms of persons attending your event, because even outside of the carnival period, you go to Trinidad and try to get to Tobago from as early as Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and you would definitely have to be on standby. So there would be persons on the island, naturally, even outside of the carnival, and that way we could extend the carnival season. Maybe we could get persons to come here even earlier, because as Secretary Burris said before, what you would pay to stay in Tobago for probably a week, it's probably what you'd have to pay to stay in Trinidad during the carnival season. So we could extend this, have a vacation while you're carnivaling. So that's a conversation that I would like to have with the promoters as early as possible, so that we could start working on that.
Tobago October Carnival actually provides an excellent platform for the growth of our tourism sector on a whole. Because when I already saw that for 2025, there are 9 long weekends. So, you know, we like to plan in advance. And, you know, if we really are able to get them on board with the concept of all of us supporting each other, there is a possibility that we can spread signature events throughout the year, so that every long weekend there is some activity that is leading us into the climax in October. Nothing stops a signature event from happening in Easter. Nothing stops a signature event from happening in May for the long weekend, or June for the long weekend, or July, August. And it gives an opportunity for people to have an excuse to keep coming to Tobago until they come back in October to have the climax. For me, in terms of areas of improvement, I am big on the traditional mass. The traditional mass parade is actually very near and dear to my heart. And having played on the road for the first time this year, I've never played mass in my life, but I played with Happy Lost Sailors this year on the invitation of Miss Dani Jove and Issy Fashions. And there you are. And now having the perspective of a masquerader, I can tell you that we really have something great with our traditional mass and the creativity that comes out using our traditional stories. And I would want us to lean towards a policy direction that really invests in the growth of the traditional mass, because we have some people in this space. There's a market for every type of thing. And there's a market of people who want more conservative type mass, you know, not knocking the bikini beads and the feathers and the wire bra and stuff. I mean, if your body looking good, I guess you could get away with that. But when you're getting down in age, you know, you're worried about, you know, certain things being covered and looking very modest and that kind of thing. And I think that our traditional mass presents the opportunity for us to evolve the product away, not necessarily away from bikini and beads, but showing that bikini and beads can be just as good alongside our traditional costumes. Because I can tell you, seeing Mariah on the streets, they have been there from day one. They're coming out in their full can in this hot sun, and they've danced in this brushback, and I love the fact that the imagery of our carnival is not just bikini beads and feathers, but you're seeing the traditional elements being woven in between. Muku jumbies, they are so graceful, and there is opportunity for us to build capacity in those areas, so that for us, in terms of evolving the product, we will be paying specific attention to growing those traditional elements and ensuring that their presence on the road is just as large as the contemporary bands.
I think two very very good conversations to have. And I want to go back to what you said, Assistant Secretary, talking about extending the carnival season. And just recently, I think it was this morning, we saw 4-day carnival. Let's talk about 4-day carnival. Let's talk about that.
Listen, you know, the stakeholders are, and the persons who came giving their feedback, they're happy. And they're telling themselves, look, we could do this for 4 days. And it's something that based on the feedback that we would naturally consider. Because if it is that the people are asking for something, we just have to sit back and have the conversation, but it's not up to us. We have to talk to our stakeholders, and not just the Carnival stakeholders, but you're talking about impacts on the work of the Tobago House of Assembly, what that would mean for our education system, what that would mean in terms of the resources that we have, for example, national security apparatus, our hospitals. All of these people need to be part of the conversation. So yes, it's easy to ask for it, and they did ask me the question about it, and I said, yes, it's something that we can consider, but certainly not in isolation of having the conversation with all the people that will be impacted by such a decision. But the carnival was proclaimed for 4 days this year. So the proclamation actually started from Friday morning, 12 a.m. and it ended last night at 11:59 p.m. And that was to give the businesses the opportunity to take advantage of the proclaimed period, the bars that would pop up, you know, things like that, for people to have cool down parties or pre-parties. And that was an economic decision. But in terms of actually shutting down the island of Tobago for 4 days for the carnival, it's not up to us, but we will certainly have the conversation.
And you know, while you're talking about the conversation about the 4-day carnival, all the things that happened around carnival, the beauty of carnival, the success that we enjoyed this year, in terms of the other cultural festivities on the island of Tobago, what are your hopes, your expectations? You know, how are you feeling in terms of advancing our cultural festivals here on the island, in terms of getting people to come, getting our own Tobagonians to embrace even more and to be a product that is just like our October Carnival?
Well, if you looked at Blue Food this year, you could see that we are definitely moving in the right direction. And I am saying to Tobagonians, if you have ever been to any large-scale event, there will be transportation and logistics problems. We know that we are a small island and we aren't accustomed to such things, but we need to understand that. And I'll use Blue Food as an example. We got a lot of complaints about people trying to get out of Bloody Bay. But we need to understand that people were coming into Bloody Bay steadily from 10 a.m. The event is now done and everyone is trying to get out.
At the same time.
At the same time. We had parking problems at the Bloody Bay Junction, and I'll be truthful, some of the maxi operators left before, so we didn't have a full fleet to get people out. So that's something that we have to work on in terms of the division. As I said, I'm not going to speak about the good alone, I'm going to speak about the bad and how we intend to address these things. But with increased traffic flow, there will be increased problems, and it's not easy to control these things at time. You plan, but it doesn't always go exactly as you plan. So we are asking persons out there to be more understanding of what is taking place. And with this growth, there will be challenges. There will be problems. And that's why I take the approach of the third year in the carnival. I mean, look at Trinidad Carnival. Look at the number of years, and they still experience huge problems, huge challenges. So it's just about learning each year and working on ways to improve the product.
Yes. To add to that, I would say that, you know, as much as we have challenges, I always look for the opportunities in the chaos. So that we know that thousands of people are going to come. They're going to need services, they need transportation. There's an opportunity for people to invest in either. I mean, I was telling somebody, if you didn't make money this weekend, it's because you didn't want to make money. Because this weekend was an opportunity to make money. So if you had a car, I mean, maybe we need to invest in some technology. Maybe Tobago needs to develop their own Uber or their own Lyft, because there are people coming from other destinations who are used to having access to things like that. And there are apps around that can make it happen. So we need to be able to collaborate with one another. We have to be able to see the opportunities that present themselves to get into business. I saw people selling drinks on the side of the road. I saw people selling water. I saw ladies selling handkerchiefs, bandanas. I saw them selling cups with the straws. I saw commerce taking place, so that there is a market for every possible thing in the midst of even looking at some crisis or some chaos that is taking place. What it also indicates to us is that this growth will redound to the growth of the business sector in general, because what events tourism does for the island is consistently ensure that we are ballooning our population temporarily for a period. So if you're talking about Tobago having a population of, say, between 63 and 65,000 people on any given normal day, but then we're adding another 30,000 people on top of that for a short period of time, all of these people shopping in the same grocery we shopping in, and it's month end, we get paid early. So, if you get what I'm saying, I'm pretty certain that these supermarkets did very brisk business over the weekend. And when you look at the economic benefits that come from simply temporarily ballooning our population for a period of time, all of this money is circulating within the Tobago economy, so that we have to, again, as I say, look at the opportunities. Look at the Esplanade. They put up the rides for people. They put up tents. That a whole sea just crew that put up a deck for themselves, and they were liming all weekend. There is opportunity everywhere, and we would look at every type of activity or festival on the island, whether it be a national carnival where everybody's coming for cool down. How are we creating things that people want to enjoy during that period? When we're looking at end of March for that long weekend, Shout Baptist, what are we doing? What are we doing for Easter? There's an opportunity there. We no longer have the Tobago Jazz experience in its previous incarnation, but there's an opportunity for some promoter to come in and create something for that space that the THA can step in and support. You have all these long weekends taking place throughout the year. You have your Heritage Festival, July, August. There is so much opportunity. And I just want people of Tobago to know that we will invest in our people first. So get together, create your businesses, put your plans on paper, present your proposals. Let's look at it. Let's see how we can invest, and let's see how we could balloon our events tourism industry to be a year-round sector, so that it provides the fillip that we need to steer tourism in the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Councillor Tashia Grace Burris, Secretary in the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, and also Assistant Secretary, Assemblyman Niall George. We're talking all things Carnival, culture on the island of Tobago, empowering Tobago people, investing in our own, as you heard Councillor just saying that we will invest in our people here on the island. The opportunities are endless. So let's have the conversations, be a part of the conversation, make yourself available and grasp at all the opportunities. In closing, is there anything you want to share with our viewers?
Well, I'd definitely like to take this opportunity to thank all the stakeholders of the Carnival, because as I said, this is Tobago Carnival. I mean, our administrator, Mr. Skeet, the staff of the division, the companies within the division, Tobago Festival Commission, the newly minted CEO, Kern Kawai, who has stepped in gracefully and has run with the mandate, Toka, Panchinbago, Tuku, all the stakeholders within the space, and last but not least, the population of Tobago, because without you all, there would be no Carnival. You all were on your best behavior, the security apparatus, the public health, fire service, all the protective services who did a wonderful job. I harped about safety, and we had a safe Carnival, and that's something that is always going to be inviting. Knowing that you could go to Carnival festivities and have clean fun. So I'm saying to the stakeholders, we are the face. We would be the ones, when I was walking around, people would be tapping me and saying congratulations, but that congratulation goes out each and every one that was instrumental in having this Carnival festivities and this Carnival season.
Oh, that is so heartwarming.
And what I would say is thank you to our visitors, wherever you came from. Whether you visited from Charlottesville and you came into town, you visited from Crown Point and you came into town, you visited from Trinidad, you came from the rest of the Caribbean, you came from South America. I think I saw a reel with some Lithuanians who were in the mass as far as Europe. You came from the UK, the United States. All of our visitors created a melting pot on the road. And we could not ask for a better group of people to revel in paradise with. And I want to give some special mention to the service providers who had to work during the carnival. The hardest time to work is during the carnival. So I have to give shouts out to the media people. I have to give shouts out to our protective services, the police officers, fire service, the Coast Guard, the Defense Force, TEMA. Huge congratulations to TEMA. They always show up every time something is happening in Tobago. The cleanup crews.
Wow, let's talk about the cleanup crews.
The cleanup crews. I can't leave the interview without talking about our Mr. Drysdale. I have to say his name and his team, URP, CPEP. They kept the streets of Scarborough pristine. They've cleaned the highway. I mean, it is hard to work when you are in the middle of a party. But I saw a video of some of them dancing while they were cleaning, and that's the spirit. That's all we want, to show the world the best of what Tobago has to offer. So even in the midst of providing a service, even in the midst of doing the road management and the marshals and the people who are serving the drinks, the people who are working in the bars, the people who are cleaning the streets, everybody had a Tobago smile on their face and spread Tobago love. And that is what stayed with me, what will stay with me. Tobago take a bow. You put on a great show, and our visitors have memories that they will take with them for the rest of their lives. And I know they're bringing back their friends and their family next year.
That's right. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a wrap for Carnival, October Carnival here in Tobago 2024. But it's certainly not a wrap for our culture, for our festivities on the island, and for our tourism. We are getting there step by step, inch by inch. And let me tell you something, Tobago will remain on the lips of everyone far and wide as you make here your destination for your next vacation or to participate in any of the activities we have here on the island. We hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is where we end Good Morning Tobago here on Tobago Updates Television. We thank you so much for being with us even till the very end. Do have a wonderful, wonderful day.